Greetings and welcome to another impressions video here at Words About Games, and today we're going to be looking at Battle Princess Madelyn. The story behind the creation of Battle Prince Madelyn is a sweet one. The daughter of the game's creative director, Madelyn, would get her father to play the first level of Ghosts and Goblins over and over again to see her dad fight Greenhead. When Madelyn told him she wanted to be in Ghosts and Goblins and fight Greenhead herself, her dad told her that wasn't possible, as it was someone else's game. Instead, he vowed to make her own game. And so we have Battle Princess Madelyn, a 2D retro-action platformer co-created by the 7-year-old Madelyn Obrich. The game casts you as the titular warrior Princess Madelyn. After an evil force attacks her home and kills her pet dog Fritzy, you'll take control and guide her on a perilous journey to put an end to the evil once and for all. It's a simple yet effective premise. The narrative was conjured by the real Madelyn and written by a professional children's author, and while it's not groundbreaking in any way, when viewed through the eyes of a child, it certainly has a sweet naivety to proceedings. It's very much about running through levels and destroying all the evil creatures you meet as the badass battle princess in the pink armor, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that, effectively evoking a great kid's tale of good versus evil, and the classic 8-bit platformer it gets its inspiration from. And don't worry about Fritzy. His spirit will be joining you on your journey quickly enough. The game itself isn't quite as simple as those classic games, however. This isn't a simple run from left to right, smashing skeletons and other monsters to bits. Battle Princess Madelyn takes on some very light exploration and Metroidvania elements. Its levels aren't nearly as complex or interwoven as a game of that type, but in the story mode there are certain areas that are inaccessible unless you've got a weapon or ability upgrade, with locked doors scattered around the world hiding treasures if you can find the keys to unlock them. Fighting monsters is what you'll end up spending the majority of your time doing in Battle Princess Madelyn, especially in the game's excellent arcade mode, which ditches most of the story and plays like a much more faithful recreation of a classic retro action platformer. As much as Madelyn is a badass, she's also incredibly fragile, able to only withstand 2 hits before being KO'd. The game isn't quite as unforgiving as it sounds though, as Madelyn has a bar that almost instantly resurrects her as long as it has charge left. If it's depleted, you'll be sent back to the last checkpoint, which is usually at the start of a level, and even this doesn't wipe out much of your progress. Combat is pretty solid. There's a huge variety of different enemy types even in the game's opening levels. While they're all dispatched in the same way, hitting them until they stop moving, there's a massive variety in their attacks, forcing you to always be mindful of your surroundings and the specific enemies you're faced with. Battle Princess Madelyn isn't afraid to fill your screen up with monsters of various combinations, and there's a thrill to adapting to situations that threaten to quickly spiral out of control. Bosses in the early going are intimidating but fairly simple, requiring you to memorize only a few moves before you've gotten everything you need to destroy them. There are a few issues here. Hitboxes on certain enemies can feel a bit inconsistent. Some monsters seem to have very generous hitboxes, while others require almost pixel-precise hits, which is something you'll have to get used to. Side quests quickly become tiresome, as you'll have to do a lot of backtracking through multiple screens to turn them in for rewards, and the game does a poor job of explaining most of its core mechanics. Finding keys to unlock special doors, for example, is a relatively simple affair of crouching in front of certain statues, but you never know it as the game doesn't tell you this. Collecting coins can also be a major pain as they tend to explode out of defeated enemies and smashed objects, defying the laws of physics to keep rolling away from you. The graphics also cause their own set of problems. As you'd expect from a game like Battle Princess Madelyn, which aims to be a love letter to NES-era platformers, this is a pixel art game. There's nothing inherently wrong with the pixel art itself, it looks kind of pretty on its own, but it almost seems like it's been stretched out to fit an HD display, rather than created for one. It seems blurrier than it perhaps should be, robbing the game of the detail that's being obscured. Graphically, it's not a big issue, but it makes the text quite hard to read, and given that there's no voice acting, this is a noticeable problem during conversation scenes. In the end though, Battle Princess Madelyn is a fine action platformer. There are some minor quirks and frustrations, but this is an action platformer with solid core gameplay mechanics that make it satisfying to play, whether you're exploring in story mode or thrusting yourself into the combat-focused arcade mode. It's worth a look if you're interested, and particularly if you're a fan of classic games such as Wonder Boy or Ghosts and Goblins. You should definitely check this out. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you've enjoyed it, please keep it here at Words About Games. We've got tons of content, including our weekly podcast, more impressions videos, patch notes, and our weekly indie game of the week. We also stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And most importantly, have a great day.